Welcome to Get a Load of This. This is your host, Elizabeth Scholes, and today we are joined by Clay Bowman, Director of Sales and Marketing with TAC Insight and Fastway. Clay's been in the industry for years and has made it his mission to help guide people through the process of buying and evaluating technology. Fastway is a cloud-based truck ticketing and dispatching platform that is shaking things up in the industry. Their cloud-based approach is changing the way that people think about software in construction. Without any further delay, let's jump right into our conversation with Clay. All right, perfect. So we are joined today by Clay Bowman. Clay, I'd love for you to give a little bit of an introduction about who you are and what you do.
Sure, Elizabeth. My name's Clay Bowman. I live up in the Missouri Ozarks. I've been working in the technology field here in the construction materials business since, honestly, 1998. So I've been around a while. I've really seen technology not only be birthed in this industry, but I've seen it evolve. So I actually started with a company in 1998 called Command Data, and I ended up working for that company, which eventually became Command Alcon, all the way up to 2014. And I've actually always been in construction material software. I actually was so motivated to stay in that industry. I worked for a couple of other technology companies, specifically in construction materials. And today I'm the director of sales and marketing for a company called Fastway. The product's Fastway, but the company is called TAC Insight, and that stands for trucking, aggregate, and construction. So TAC Insight.
I love it. You mentioned that you've really seen, an evolution over the course of time that you've been in the industry. I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are on some of the differences that you see between some of the legacy software that's out there and then some more of the cloud-based platforms similar to what you're doing with Fastway.
Yes. So really what you have to realize, that's a good question. And it invokes a lot of thought, actually, because we owe where we are today to these pioneering legacy platforms, right?
Yep.
I mean, these platforms changed the way people did business, and some of them obviously are still operational and in existence today. They're very powerful. They have a lot of they have the ability to automate across multiple lines of business, but as we move the needle forward, it's coming at a price, So when I look at legacy technology today, and I think about what we're doing over here at Fastway, it's hard to believe that in 2021 that there's only a handful of cloud platforms that are truly automating businesses today. Yeah. So it's I think as an industry, we kind of paint ourselves into a corner. I mean, technically speaking, I'm really happy to be here at Fastway in this cloud platform, this delivery that we've been able to do. It's a Microsoft Azure platform. So it's completely modern. It's been built from the ground up. So the owners of Fastway had an old legacy system, but they loved the industry so much and they wanted to be a part of it, but they wanted to make a mark at the same time. They wanted to say, hey, look, we can stay developing this, older technology, or we can move this thing forward. And that's what they did. They started with a single line of code, and we've built it from there over 5 years.
That's awesome. What impact do you really think that has for your end users? That kind of switch to the cloud-based, how are you seeing that translate into the day-to-day lives of your customers?
I think it's transformational. I think the hard part, though, is actually helping customers understand what that transformation means to them. I can't tell you how many times I'm engaged with folks that have really been trapped in these legacy methods, and they can't seem to find their way out.
Well, they may not even know that there is another way, right? Like it was so kind of groundbreaking for them to get into the software to begin with that they may not even know that there's another way of doing it.
Right. They don't, I think it's education. So I'm big on education. I'm big on consulting. I don't really like the whole, sales perspective. Like I just got to sell this product, right? Because we're in an era of technology where consultative or counseling sales is so important because people have to be educated and they have to be ready to have that conversation, right? But really what I believe, we're on the precipice here. We're on the precipice of a true technological revolution in the construction materials industry, because when you look out on the horizon and you see some of these players in the marketplace that are automating systems with cloud technologies, we're talking very pervasive systems that have incredible throughput, that really are in a position to replace these legacy systems,
Yeah.
but it's not happening yet. It will.
It'll
We're in
get
that
there.
tsunami. That wave is building, but we're marching towards that, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that, helps drive some of that change is people have, evolved from thinking about pen and paper to, all right, we're going to put it all into an Excel spreadsheet now. And then, okay, software comes into the mix. And then, okay, there's a whole nother way that we can keep track of this. And it's more mobile and it's more accessible to a wide variety of people and can help connect different parts of our business.
Right.
It's this like slowly peeling back the layers of like possibility for what's out there. What do you think is one of the things that, like, when people come to you and they're like, hey, we're having this problem, or we're seeing ourselves get bogged down in this area of the business, how are you seeing that kind of like coming to the moment where they're ready to have that conversation? How does that go?
There was a lot in there, but the first thing that came to mind was a customer of mine that I had back in Texas. And the gentleman's name was John Glidewell. And every time I'd visit John, he would say, now this is a large trucking company down in Texas.
Yep.
He would say, Clay, all we know how to use is the Big Chief tablet and a crayon. So that was his mantra. We're tired of using the Big Chief tablet and the crayon. But when you walk into operations today that are automated with legacy platforms, it's amazing to see how much paper is still around. So the evolution of digitizing the process has been very interesting. That same company was averaging 2,000 daily transactions back in 2015. That's a lot of transactions, and they had terminals all over the state of Texas. But they were still bundling all of these tickets, right? Bundles of tickets. The terminal managers would then verify from the dispatch system that everything was correct. They would get all the tickets aligned, then they would send them back in these mailboxes, and there would be an army of people, in the office hand keying these tickets into their system to record date the transaction in the dispatch system. So much waste, so much time wasted. What's amazing is, using the cloud back then, we were able to streamline that entire process. We were able to actually digitize the entire dispatch, and using a mobile application back in 2015, we basically squeezed the average days of billing on that 2,000 daily transaction to 2,000 daily transactions from 10 to 1. So we digitized the whole process. We were able to take pictures of these tickets instead of bundling them up and rekeying them. And what was so cool about it was so easy, really, at the end of the day, what we were doing. But it's amazing what technology, how it can truly impact a business if it's thought in a vertical way, not in a horizontal way, because horizontal is kind of, I'm getting horizontal, as I get older, but we get horizontal, and it's harder to move. But as we go vertical, it's easy to move that information around. So that's always been my philosophy and approach. And here at Fastway, that's exactly what we've done. We've built all of these accoutrements to the software platform. For instance, you've had to go outside to do something else. Well, I need to dispatch, or I need to track a truck, or I need to do this, or I need to digitize my marketplace. So that's what we've done here is we've thought that through, from the beginning and built a platform that we can automate this industry on through one single platform. Doesn't mean that we do everything the best, but what it means is we do it vertical. And what I think is important about the digitization of the industry is the ability to integrate, Elizabeth.
Yep.
So, like for instance, if I have a great scale and ticketing solution, but you have a great dispatching solution and the customer has made an investment in that, I don't want to force the customer's hand to change that.
Yep.
What I want to do is I want to take my vertical solution and integrate to your vertical solution so that they can both work hand in hand and give the customer what they want in the most economical way. And
Yep.
I
I
think
love that. I think it's interesting too, because I think one of the things that, you kind of see out in the narratives and in the media is, construction doesn't have technology. There's nobody catering to their needs. And I don't think that that's accurate, but I think what's happening is that there's so many solutions out there that are focusing on one portion of the business. And what construction companies and what aggregate like civil construction aggregates, the whole industry is having to kind of evaluate a ton of different types of technology to serve different portions of their business. And taking that vertical view of things is a really interesting way to look at it, because you're then able to take different parts of their normal day-to-day operations and bring them together under one roof.
right.
And whether that's through integration or through the software, that's really powerful.
Absolutely. And it comes down to, what poison you choose to run your business, right? So you have all these different bottles to choose from. Which one are you going to pick? And the one that you do pick, does it have the ability to shake hands? Does it? So like, for instance, in Fastway, we have a full, we're a Microsoft shop. So we're a Microsoft Azure platform. We are, all of our developers are Microsoft certified Azure developers. It's where we've made our home. I call it the Coke Pepsi of our world. So Microsoft's kind of the Coke and the Amazon is the Pepsi.
Yeah.
But we've gone with Microsoft, and it's paid off for us because the ability to open up what are called RESTful APIs, having the ability to say, well, what piece of data do you need from Fastway? What piece of data, like for instance, a dispatch system. Well, we would love to be able to tell you what's coming to the scale and update that properly and shake hands with you. And that's the beauty of Fastway because of how it was built in the first place. These RESTful APIs are powerful. It doesn't matter what piece of data that you're looking for in our system, we can get it to you, and we can get it to you fast. We can get it to you effectively, efficiently.
I wonder where they got the name Fastway then, right?
It's been around a while. I love the name. Really, I think the name kind of speaks to our ability to get a truck on the scale and off the scale. That really is the most important thing. The scale and ticketing piece of our software is designed for throughput. So yeah, some of these facilities I've been in recently are absolutely amazing. I mean, I saw 700, 800 loads in less than an hour in one facility I was in. So it really requires, a lot of thought, but it's amazing. What's amazing is the processes that are built around those kinds of places.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, you have a legacy piece of software and there's a lot of manpower that makes that work.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's not pieces or components that are tied together to make it all work seamlessly. And so I was impressed with these operations that I was in, no doubt, to actually make that happen every day. Hats off to those guys and the whole industry that are that busy. But we can do it. We can achieve those results in a much more streamlined environment with something like Fastway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the interesting things too that you touched on there is that, it does take manpower to make the technology work in some instances.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And when you're able to automate portions of that and remove the like man hours needed, it doesn't mean that that employee goes away. It doesn't mean that they're not a valuable part of the business, but what you can then do is you can train or you can reskill that individual to make an even more impactful kind of, you know, impact, really a more impactful way of relating their job to the overall goals of the business. They
That's
can
right.
they can still be in their role or they can move to a different area, but they can still make a huge difference, even even if it's not in the same exact way. And I think that's a narrative that is often missed, but is really important. You know, technology isn't necessarily automating people out of jobs. It's helping people grow in their career, grow in their knowledge and expertise in the industry, and make impacts in different ways.
Yeah. Do you want to bring, do you want to use every wrench in your tool bag, or do you just want to use a couple?
Yep.
Right? You know, which is easier? Well, I have all these wrenches and I have to turn all these different pieces of this technology to make it work every day. Well, what happens when you free up the use of that, right? And what happens is, what's the cost of efficiency? You know, I think that's the one thing that I have tried to counsel people through my entire career, because even in legacy platforms, it's all about efficiency. If
Yep.
you're not using something, this is going to make you more efficient. Well, you know, how more efficient? How much more efficient?
Yeah.
Right? That's always the question. How do I articulate that into a dollar? You know, how much money is that going to save my company? Well, it's interesting because it's different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that when you look at the legacy discussion, and when you look at what it takes, not only to buy it, but then after you purchase the software, to implement it. So now you have to implement. I think some of the hardest things I ever had to struggle with was, um, okay, now we've got the software across the line, we've got the contract in place, everybody's excited and we're happy, and then now they're having to, you have an industry or a company that doesn't have any real skill in technology,
Yep.
right? And so now they have to become, either A, they have to become experts in technology, or, you know, hire an entire team that's surrounding this technology so that they can implement it and support it and keep it moving forward,
Yep.
or they have to outsource that. And both are extremely expensive. There's advantages to both, but the actual cost of implementing, you know, a client server or a legacy platform is exorbitant, you know.
Yep.
And I think with the cloud, what is amazing to me with Fastway, Elizabeth, is that with what we've been able to do with the conversion of some of these situations is, I think, unprecedented in our industry. We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about large operations that are converting over at breakneck speed. Um, and it comes down to the ability to move information. It comes back down to that vertical conversation. Can I move information from one platform to the next? Did I build a platform from the ground up that can do that? So because we have some amazing integrations with ERPs. Like, for instance, we're a top 16 Viewpoint partner. And of course, Viewpoint is a pervasive piece of software in our industry. But what's amazing about that is that the information in Viewpoint lives simultaneously in Fastway. You know, as soon as you change a price, or adjust a project, or add a customer, it lives in Fastway simultaneously. The same is true for the other integrations we perform, whether it's Microsoft Dynamics or JD Edwards, or, you know, the list goes on and on. And recently, you know, another monumental thing that we were able to achieve was an integration with a tax compliance software called Avalara. And so it's huge,
Yeah.
because we spent just a short couple of months developing a very complex and sophisticated integration to this platform that basically frees up companies from having to chase down taxing authority. You know, where does it, do I have this tax correct? Well, it goes up in the cloud and it hits all the tables and everything's correct now. This type of technology is the future, right? It
Yep.
is changing the industry. We just are, like I said earlier, we're the wave is cresting, and so I see a lot of software companies out there like Fastway. I say a lot, but a few that
Yeah.
have that are building these products. Very, very excited for the industry's future.
What do you think is going to be the tipping point? What do you think, when is that like wave going to crest? What's going to be the thing that pushes it over the edge?
Um, you know, how do you describe that? I think it has to, it's like a brush fire.
Mm-hmm.
The it starts small and then it spreads very quickly when the wind picks up, right?
Yeah.
So it has to be, companies have to be willing to understand the inefficiencies that they're trapped in first.
Yep.
But they don't look at that on a daily basis. Some folks are just trying to get through a day. Some folks are just trying to look at the numbers and make sure everything's in line. They get the information they want, but they don't understand what that information is costing them, right? So it's just do you want to wear um, do you want to wear weights around your feet and walk around all day, or do you want to free yourself up and take a little of that off and be a little freer? It's all about the technology, and what is the use of that legacy system costing you from an efficiency perspective. Now here at Fastway, we can walk through that with you, right? So we do a good job of understanding what it is. I'll tell you this, this goes back to what you were talking about earlier. you know when you have all of these different components, so you have a core system, right? But then you have two, three, maybe four or five other components that you've had to bolt on, maybe even a reporting system, right? So you want a
Yep.
comprehensive reporting system that gives you dashboarding and all this wonderful information. The costs that are involved in that, and then the upkeep to just get that kind of information, is pretty amazing how much you can spend to create that kind of environment in a legacy platform.
Yep.
With Microsoft Azure, we're Power BI experts. I mean, we charts and graphs and dynamic information delivered in a dynamic view is something that's, we eat that stuff for breakfast. So it's just part of the evolution of the technology. And there is a cost benefit to that. There's a cost benefit to get that information at your fingertips because it's more economical than bolting it on to another platform.
Absolutely. And the barrier to entry is really different as well. When you think about an integration into something that you're already using and leveraging and tying those together, the barrier to entry of getting all that data connected is fairly low. But when you need to be bolting things on and hiring additional people and spending a lot of dollars to get that capability,
Yeah.
the barrier to entry is really high, and it can kind of weed some people out from having the data and insights and the valuable tools that they need to really effectively manage their business, simply because they can't afford to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on putting this throughout their system.
But going back to what you were saying, that's the problem, is
Exactly.
that we need these technologies. Like we
Yep.
need these kinds of reporting systems. We don't need, like the dot matrix reports. We don't need the canned reports. We need information at our fingertips. We need information here in
Yep.
our hand. We need to know, how many 57s did I ship out of quarry number 26 today? What did I, because I'm concerned about that quarry and I'm keeping my eye on it. Do you have to go drill a report at the end of the day, or maybe you have to VPN into a server or whatever? That goes back to the brush fire. The reason that we're not going anywhere is because, number one, only a handful of producers in our industry are actually using those systems on their legacy platforms. And I'm truly say a handful, because it is such a heavy lift to get it in there, not only financially, but, to maintain it and to become an expert of use. So that's what's holding us back. The technology itself is holding us back.
Yep.
So once the technology hits that threshold where people say, okay, we need to truly, and I think it is happening now, Elizabeth. I mean, I'm a part of it. So we're having these conversations where, people are looking for what's out there, but this is how we get the word out, right? We do podcasts, we talk about it. We try to help people understand that things are changing on the landscape. I recently was engaged with a customer where we sold a cloud application Fastway in a quarry, but they were adding ready mix to their business. So, they come to me for that recommendation. So that's also, I'm not going to recommend a legacy system. So, when you see those types of technical partnerships that we're engaged with on the ready mix side, it's important that they can work with us in the same respect. There are so many things that can happen with this new technology set with regards to the movement of data, optimization, optimizing the movement of the trucks. Also, what about replenishment? What about the ability to know that I have this ready mix plant, this ready mix plant, and this ready mix plant, and now these two softwares are tied together so that I know over at Fastway that I need to fulfill that load by X, 10 a.m. so that they have enough material to get through the next few hours of their day. These are all the questions that we struggle with because we don't know the answers.
Yep.
We're always making phone calls. We're always texting. And these technologies are going to change the industry. They're going to completely rewrite it.
I totally agree. And I don't think it's that far off. And I think that not only is the technology pushing it forward, the inefficiencies are pushing it forward, the frustration is pushing it forward. And then when you think about things even from the outside, like the e-ticketing stuff that's been, talked about in the news cycle.
Yeah.
It's little things like that that are going to chip away at things, and people are going to be
a big thing right now.
It's a huge thing. And I think
but nobody's using it.
Right. And nobody knows what to do with it, and nobody knows how. And I think it's things like that that are starting to be talked about in a real way. And people are actually really trying to find solid solutions that can be utilized in a day-to-day, in a day-to-day life in a real way, not just hypothetical. Those are the things that are going to start pushing this conversation even further forward.
It's an evolutionary thing, this e-ticket thing. To me, it's a two-phase situation. The first phase is understanding that e-ticketing, think about it. These systems, these electronic systems have been out since Windows 95, right? We have an e-ticket already, right? Like we already have an electronic ticket, but we print it.
Yep.
Oh, well, but we need to be able to put that into the marketplace and do something with it. Well, why can't we? Well, the reason that you can is because you need another piece of technology to go into the database and grab that electronic ticket and actually make it feasible for use in today's world. See, that's why Fastway is so different, because Fastway, I actually say this a lot. Fastway was e-ticketing. Fastway was e-ticketing was cool before e-ticketing was cool. I mean, it's like the e-ticket's already there. It's already distributed in the field by the Fastway system. Two approaches. The customer needs the ticket. So if I have a relationship with a trucking company or a third-party company, they need to be able to log into my web portal or my system to get that ticket. Why do I need to go chase tickets down and try to scan them and email them? Those days are over. With our system, the customer simply has access to them. Like our client would just give their customer access to our web portal, and now they have access to every ticket they've ever done. So e-ticketing is that's the first phase. Can we get there? It's already built into Fastway. We've been doing it since we released this product 5 years ago. But then the next phase is, can we actually put that e-ticket in the field? Yep. Can we actually digitize it and move completely away from paper? Well, you can with Fastway. I get asked this question almost in every demo. Well, what do you think? Do you think it's achievable? Absolutely, I do. Are you willing to be the change agent that makes that happen within your industry? There's another brush fire right there. So the DOTs are requesting it. We're not seeing a lot of movement there. I believe Washington State was making a requirement of it. They were the first ones to legislate to actually make it mandatory. And we're doing business up there in the e-ticket market, but it's interesting. It launched and now it's died off. Um, it's going to take what it's going to take is it's going to take someone regionally, you know, or even a small producer to say, I'm done with paper. This is the way we're going. And I think the big challenge there is the driver at the end of the day. So, the drivers are catching up with technology. They're getting there. You got the guys with the flip phones in the past that said, I'll never use one of those smartphones that are using smartphones today. So it's just a matter of time. We'll get there.
Absolutely. And I think the tide is changing there as well. And, I think more and more people are mandating the technology, which is forcing the hand. But it's actually having some good benefits, I think, for drivers as well. I've talked with a couple of customers that are basically, we've got our guys, they're punching in, they're punching out digitally. They feel good about that. They love it.
Yeah.
They're maybe younger. They feel more comfortable with that type of technology. And then some of the people that have been doing this for so long are like, yeah, I'll do that. I will punch in and out digitally, but I'm also going to keep my paper record that I would like for you to take a look at the end of the week or at the end of the month. And slowly, I think things are starting to shift there. And
Where those tickets end up though. It's always a phone call. They end up in the bottom of the cab or in the back of somebody's truck at the end of the day. They blow
Yep.
out the window. They never have them all. There's only a few guys that are maybe organized with Fastway. So if you didn't know this, we actually have an app that the drivers can use.
Nice.
So yep, every time they go across the scale, they have a full transactional record of every ticket they've ever done.
That's perfect.
They
no coffee stains on it. No, didn't fly out the window.
Exactly. And some of them, in those Fastway environments, they do ditch the paper, right? Because they depend on it. They could go back a year and look at the tickets they did on a particular day a year ago if they wanted to. And it creates transparency, which is important. I think that's the way you bridge the gap to the driver, on the electronic ticket side. It really does create layers of transparency and trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when there are disputes that come up or questions that are asked, having that data to refer back to, it makes the process so much easier. These people have built relationships over the course of decades, and being able to have positive communication and have data to back up what's going on really, really can help preserve those relationships for years to come too, with a little less confrontation, maybe.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that we were able to connect with you. I know we've kind of run over a little bit on time, but there's a couple questions we're asking all of our guests this season that I'd love to get your 2 cents on. So I'll run through those really quickly with you, and then I'll let you get back to your busy day. Is there somebody in the industry that's really been a mentor to you? I know you've said that you've been in the industry for quite a while. Is there someone that's helped you along the way?
Well, yeah, I absolutely. My first sales mentor was a guy named Don Janney. Don was a career ready mix dispatch manager who moved into the software business with Alcon Corporation. And Don was an amazing guy. I think that he really, he helped me. He helped me understand the industry. He helped me understand the challenges. And then I had the privilege of blowing him away a few times. So, there's another guy though. His name is Tom Wentz. He's not from our industry, but he is he's a sales trainer, so to speak. He has a simulation that he does for salespeople. But he taught me it's not about selling, it's about trust. It's about counseling and understanding and asking questions. And so nobody likes to be sold, right? So it's really about understanding and asking questions and trying to help.
Yeah.
So he taught me that.
I love that.
Yeah.
What's keeping you in the construction industry? You've been in it for a while. What keeps you here?
I have a degree in hospital administration, go figure. So I've been in this industry. I joined it in 1996 with a company called Anchem Chemicals. I've always stayed in this industry. When I left my career and my over at Command Alcon, I found my way to Trimble, eventually found my way to Cortex. I worked for Marcotte Systems for a couple of years. Great folks out of Quebec. And I've always strived to stay in this industry. You make friends here. You you make friends here. This industry, there's nothing like this industry. People say that all the time. They say that all the time, but the people are so genuine. They are so down to earth, and it's just a pleasure to do business in this industry.
I completely agree. I completely agree. What's the one piece of technology that you could not do your job without?
Probably this. um, one piece of technology I couldn't do my job without. It would have to be my laptop. It would have to be my laptop because that's where we make it all happen. Is within the CRM, or whether it's doing the demo, or even right now on this Zoom call, right? So I would be lost without my laptop. I love my laptop. It's my first Microsoft Surface laptop, and thing's awesome.
My husband just bought one. He's
Oh,
like got a
really?
couple of conventions he's going to later on in the year. Fingers crossed. And he was like, I'm excited to use it. So I'll have to let him know you like
It is
yours.
very nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. And then finally, if there was one portion of your job that you could automate, what would that be?
One portion of my job that I could automate. Can you automate my travel? Yeah, that would be nice.
That is one
So
of the most popular answers we have gotten this season. So you are not alone. You're in good
awesome.
company.
I'm not a million miler yet, but I'm close. And it's I think it's harder than ever to travel. So
Agreed. For you, is it more the like logistics of getting from one place to the other that's the trouble, or like having to be on the road?
both. Both. Yeah. It's traveling is, it used to be enjoyable. I'll be honest with you. I used to enjoy it. I used to love to go on the road. It's really not one of my favorite things, but once you're there, once you're actually engaged in the field where you want to go, it's worth it.
Awesome. Well, we love that. We thank you for joining us today. It's been a
Thanks,
pleasure
Elizabeth.
chatting with you. And
I
we're,
appreciate you inviting me.
yeah, of course, we're really looking forward to seeing more and more from Tack Insight and from Fastway. So we'll be keeping in touch with you over the course of time. And we just really appreciate you coming on board today.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I appreciate you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Clay. What a pleasure it was talking with Clay today. It's really interesting to see the way the industry is evolving its views on technology, but also how technology is changing as it becomes more and more clear what the industry really needs. Whether that's integrations that allow multiple pieces of software or technology to operate in tandem, or it's reporting that helps you run your business more efficiently. Technology is quickly adapting and getting more and more focused on the real needs of the end users, a transformation that will surely benefit the entire industry. If you'd like more information about Fastway or Tack Insight, you can head over to their website at tackinsight.com. That's TAC insight.com. And if you liked what you heard today, please be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. This is your host, Elizabeth, signing off until next week.